and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to Just Jazz. And as you know, we are here each and every week bringing you the best in jazz music. And today, of course, is no exception. Ben Shepherd's in the house, man. He's in there rehearsing right now to bring you the best in sound that he possibly can. And of course, we want you to be here, 7420 Sunset Boulevard. That's the address we're talking about. Mr. Music Head Gallery, Just Jazz. Check it out online at Just Jazz TV, or just drive on down, man. Park your car, come in here, enjoy some of these great sounds. This is music by Joe Ross, Touched by an Angel.
Yeah, I'm just taking the viewers on a little. Oh, I had them on the show. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the person responsible for all of these with a little help from his friends, but mainly he's this guy in all the pictures. Is Leroy Downs. Hello, Leroy, darling.
Hello. And thank
And
you for being, the small percentage of people that knows how to pronounce my name correctly, because I don't know the Leroy guy, but Leroy I certainly.
I know. Well, once I realized that, it totally wrapped around my tongue. Leroy.
Yes,
It's very sophisticated.
Leroy, Leroy, the king.
Wadada.
I don't, Madada. Hey, I was real king. I don't actually, I guess it's French that it means that.
Leroy.
Yeah, one of these languages.
Well, I know several Leroys, and so that would be distracting, you know.
I know one. Yeah. The church that Rebecca and I go to, there's a Leroy. And, I hear that and people don't see my head turn, but they see his head turn.
Well, how are you on this lovely afternoon, actually?
Pretty lovely. Always thinking about the music and what we can do to push it forward. And man, trying to, just like everyone else, trying to recreate yourself during a time like this and still be able to be, relevant and contribute something, beautiful to the world. I mean, my life, what is my life if I can't give and contribute in some sort of way? So, we've been creating lots of little avenues to do that.
Well, you're probably still doing what you were doing before, right? Or, I mean, besides Just Jazz, the series.
Well, Just Jazz, obviously the series that was and is really still something that's pretty spectacular when we can do it, when we get back to doing it. I mean, I really wanted Just Jazz not to be another club in LA. It couldn't be that. We've got jazz clubs in LA and they each have lots of their own individual personality and people, they feel that place when they go into it. And when you come into ours, I wanted you, one, get there early, two, spend time with all the art, surrounded by all these beautiful photographs of these musicians from every genre. Then we have food for you. So I wanted to cater in the back so that you didn't have to come home from work first and all that. You just come directly from work, come to Just Jazz, come enjoy the art, get some food in the back. I brought all of my radio gear so that I could do a live radio broadcast from there and, talk to the world and interview the artists and have a great photo montage of all of our previous gigs. I mean, I really wanted you to have a full-on experience when you got there. And that takes a lot of effort to do.
Yes, it does. It's not just like bringing the PA for the night, it's a little bit more than that. And you succeeded. It was a great venue. And it, like you said, it is a great venue. It's in Hollywood for those of you who aren't living amongst us in Hollywood, across from Guitar Center. And Sam, what's Sam's last name?
Sam Milgram is the owner of Mr. Music Head Gallery, and Mr. doesn't have a period on the end of it too. I don't know why.
Oh.
A period on the end of Mr.
Because generally Mr. has a period.
Yeah, no period at the end of Mr., but it is Mr. Music Head, and it's a really fantastic place to be, surrounded by art and music filling the room, surrounded by art and music. You can only feel good while experiencing those live vibrations coming at you.
Yeah, it's a great room, isn't it?
Oh,
The space itself and how it's set up. Well, it's basically this photo gallery and basically one room except for going out in the back and eating and watching you do your thing on the radio or interviews. But the space, the performing space, is really comfortable, both watching and being up there. And yeah, it's a really comfortable, beautiful room to have music in.
Yeah, it's got
Great
some
piano too.
yeah, natural acoustics are in
Yeah,
there. It's basically an art gallery.
yeah,
We transform, one night of the week into a live music space. And we're just so happy that it sounds good in there. And, there's these wooden walls and high, lofty ceilings. It kind
yeah.
of gives you this room to breathe, room for the music to breathe.
Hmm.
And yeah, sorry, we only have folding chairs. We don't have anything more comfortable than that. But
What? No cushions?
okay,
Maybe somebody will, donate some cushions for you.
folks, just come with enough padding.
Oh, Roland Ascarones is here and he's saying hello and he misses everything. Yeah. I'm sure Dan is listening too. And of course, Dan is a big fan.
Dan's the man.
I know.
Early on, he came in as like, wow, every week he's seeing all these artists. And Dan's a different kind of guy, whether he knows them or not. Dan is a seeker. So that is somebody who seeks music. A lot of people are not seeking the music. They're relying on what they already know. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things about this music is that it's a flower, man. It is living and it is growing, and we want to continue that way. So we can't just keep listening to the same thing over and over again. And that's how I program music on the radio, and that's how I curated the series the same way, to give people some ears to hear some different things. The problem with that here in Los Angeles is that people, there's a generational thing too. So there's the seekers, and then there are the people who accept what they're given with music. And there's the people who are open. The people who are open, they don't know, but they want to come in and see whatever. Everyone else seems like, well, I don't really know that person, so I'm not going to go. And if you've lived in Los Angeles a long time and you've seen many of the acts that have been here and lived here over and over again, you're very comfortable with that. But some of these new artists, maybe for some of the, elderly audience that loves the music, it's like, it's no one that they know. And so many times those folks didn't come out and experience what we had. But, the music is open and welcome for everyone. So, I live my life through this music. So there's never a chance that I'm going to bring you anything bad. Now, granted, you might not be as hardcore as I am, so you might not like, a cutting saxophone or something like that. But I do, so don't come on that night, but come on when you're going to get
I'm just going to keep doing what I want and maybe you'll like it. But you know what? That's a good attitude, actually. And also, I mean, if anyone really knows, who is that man?
right.
Anyway, hi, Gary.
What do you mean by that?
He's trying to be smart ass. Well, that's true. He is a smart ass. He doesn't have to try. But yeah, if anyone actually knows you or listens to you, like me,
Ooh.
then like I know what your taste is, and your taste is great. And so pretty much anything you're going to listen to or bring, I'm going to be intrigued by. So, I guess I'm a seeker. Yeah.
I get music all the time. And if I get a CD, I look at the cover, I don't know who these artists are. I turn it over and it's in a sentimental mood, and the music from Duke or Lady Day, or there are all these standards that are on there. Some people can go, oh wow, to me, I'm going to go, oh, okay, piano, bass, and drums, all the standards. That goes in that pile. I get a CD, I look at it, I see people who I don't know. I turn over, I see, contrabass, clarinet, and cello. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I want to hear this. I'm interested in hearing all these different sounds and the way they come together and the way that a lot of these people, present their music. And there's so much beauty in it. So I am really sifting through. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get the radio to play this so these people can hear this. And I always want people to hear new sounds and experience things in a new way because we continue to grow. We're living beings,
Yeah. On my series here, which you are I guess you're number, I think I've miscounted.
I saw a lot of numbers. I was scrolling through. I'm like, ooh.
Well, you're at least 178. You might be 179.
Oh, you're on it, girl.
I know, man.
You're trying to catch up to me.
I'm trying.
Yeah, and you halfway there. I probably have about 350 interviews. 178 is impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, what was I going to say? I was going to say that one thing. Oh yeah, because I have discovered so many incredible artists that I didn't know. Of course, I'd say at least 70% of the people I've interviewed are people I've known, either to some degree or another, and then there's been those I've known of, and then there are those who I don't know at all. Like last week, I met, I don't know if you know this woman. She's Brazilian, or she's Brazilian American. She's Brazilian. Clarice Assad.
No.
Wow, this woman. Okay, so her father and his brother were called the Assad brothers, and they were.
I've heard of that before.
Guitarists.
I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah, very famous. She grew up in that whole heavy duty, soak it in, man. Just very deep. And she first wanted to be a composer. And then she's a great piano player. She's an amazing singer. Mm. And she's composing drives her. But I should send you some of these people I'm discovering, to look up and stuff. She's amazing, really amazing. And anyway, people like her I've been discovering that have really blown my mind. I mean, so many people, Scott, Scott, what is his name? He's you might know his name, actually, if I could remember. Roland, maybe you can remember. He plays every instrument, and he has a shop in the back of his house where he has all these instruments, and he has this thing called the Sonic, what is it called? The Science Sonic Lab. And if you pay a little membership, you can watch him talk about this real unique instrument. Mostly he's known for his woodwind playing, on various records. And Scott Goodwin, I don't know. Anyway, just crazy, wonderful people. You must be hip to Bob Moses, right?
No. You see how we're hipping each other to all this music. You name 3 people that I don't know, which is incredible. We can't know it all, but the science and the gift of learning and growing, and once you hear the music and you actually learn the sound of the musician, they become a part of your umbrella, and you grow a little bit bigger because of that.
Okay, I have to write down that I have to share with Leroy. And then I'll look at some of the people and maybe, who I think maybe you don't know of, and I'll do that.
Okay.
Pretty cool, man.
We can share together anytime.
Dan DeVille is here. He said, Leroy has the best ear and taste in music. I look forward to the return of Just Jazz series on Wednesday night.
Brother Dan, thank you so much, man. I mean, we were talking about you earlier, just got on here, but I really love the way that you came into Just Jazz. You come in, you look around, and you hear this music maybe you haven't heard before. And what do? You go, you meet the artist, you buy the music, you get it signed, and like that is a sign of, a person who loves art, who loves music. And I really wish everyone took it to that degree and did that, because you're supporting the artist there. You didn't buy it on YouTube or Instagram or am I thinking of Spotify and all those things? No, you came, you saw. And the thing about actually being there with live music is you get these vibrations that you don't get through the radio or listening to your CDs. And you're feeling live human vibration coming from those sounds, and they become a part of you. It can't help but go like that. So
it's true.
Yeah, thank you for coming to see people you know and people you didn't know, and that's a success for me.
Yeah, just it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people have trouble. Gene Hubbard Boone says hi.
Hey, Gene.
I know some people have a lot of trouble going out of the house and after work, and once they go home, they don't want to go out. Yeah. And I've been one of those people who, I've just always loved to go out and hear music, because I know once I get out and I'm sitting in front of the band, it's good.
Well, that's why I said, don't go home. Come directly here.
Yeah.
Wind down and relax from work here and really prep yourself to get ready for some great music.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I'm going to find out some hidden information about Leroy.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so I know Roland's going to ask you this. Have you ever met Zappa? No, this is a joke, but have you?
In a way, yes.
Oh.
No. George Duke was my musical father, and I say this, so was Bobby Hutcherson and all these folks, but I was 15 years old working at the grocery store in Hollywood. They called it Rock and Roll Rouse. And I met George there, and I became friends with his son. So I was able to go up to the house, see that beautiful studio, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to his son's room because we're friends, but I really want to stay here, And obviously, a great musician and produced lots of artists. I'm mostly interested, obviously, in the jazz, but he was really one of my main influences in terms of, doing, like, I took everything to him. When I did something, I'm like, look at this, is this okay? Or when I put together like a CD that I gave away for Christmas, is this okay? I'm like, hey, like everything music. And then I got on, I was going for K-Jazz. He's like, I hear you. And it's just, it's good for somebody to be close to someone like that who's been there and has done it all, and kind of gives you, the applaud to move forward. And he played with Zappa, so.
Okay, Roland, there you go. Roland asks every day, I think he's wants to know if the person has played with Zappa. So, but that's pretty close. Actually, I was just editing my interview with Diane Reeves, and he was her cousin, and he produced her first record, and she really admired him a lot.
She loved him. That's her cousin, and I met Diane. There was something that was happening at the Bovard Auditorium at USC. And I know Herbie was there, and George was there, and Brad Mehldau was there. But this time, George brought Diane, and he brought Thelonious Monk Jr. And so they were together, and that was actually the first time I met Diane. Uh-huh. And I told her, I said, you don't know this yet, but next week, you and I are going to be on the same stage in Monterey. She kind of like looked at me funny, like, yeah, okay, that's okay. She didn't know, we didn't know each other, but 2 weeks later, there I am bringing her on stage.
Oh,
we became, great friends after that. And the second recording that she did
Yeah.
with Billy Childs was done tribute to being honored, sitting on the couch.
Cool. Well, when she came to LA, she was working with my brother-in-law, Joey Heredia,
Oh, I know. That's your brother-in-law?
from my first husband. Yeah.
Joey, that's my man. I love Joey.
I, I know. That's good. It's very good, man. He is too cool, man. Yeah. So, and they were working at, yeah, they were working at the Come Back In. Do you remember that place?
Okay, come back in. Never been there, but I know.
Really?
No, I know.
Amazing.
Diane was playing there one time, and I'm like, I gotta go. I drove and I couldn't find it, so I missed that night.
Oh,
Go see her at the Come Back In. So, but
it was tiny little room, but talk about a good vibe. The room had a great vibe. So that she was, singing there when she first came, and Billy and Joey and Tony Dumas and actually Larry Klein sometimes was in the band, and yeah, so yeah, she was like 21. Yeah, it was
I
really.
wanted to go. I tried to get there. I couldn't.
I'm sorry.
There's a Washington, and then there's a Washington Place.
Yeah.
I've gone the wrong way, so I never saw it.
Right, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Really cool room. It had a lot of great people. Mosir Santos was especially cool to watch there. It was really nice. But yeah. So anyway, so obviously you grew up in LA.
Mhm.
Yeah, and did you ever play anything? Uh-oh.
Sad story.
Uh-oh.
I never had a lesson in elementary school, in junior high school, high school. I never approached with an instrument to play.
Yeah.
And, I tell this story, and I don't really want to blame it on this, but when you're in elementary school, sometimes they have these assemblies,
Yeah.
they call them. And I happened to be in the auditorium before anyone else. It was dark. Don't ask me why I was there, but there must have been some jazz or some music being played on stage, because all the instruments were there, and the light was shining on them. And I was so amazed. And I walked up to the front. I walked up those 4 little stairs on the side. Every auditorium has that to go to the stage. And the shine from the cymbals on the drum, I was going up to touch it because I was just so enamored with it. And before I got there, 2 feet away, someone said, "Hey, get out of here. You're not supposed to be in here." And so it scared the hell out of me. And so what ended up happening is that every time I would see an instrument, I would look from afar, because I'm like, well, I learned from that moment, well, if you don't know how to play it, you can't touch it. So I always looked at musicians from afar, like, well, I don't know how to play that, but I'll watch, And I didn't realize I was doing this until a later age.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I've been with instruments. I'm like, oh, there it is. Like I almost be scared of it. Like I'm not allowed to touch it because I don't play, So
Oh.
ask me how they got it in my pocket, but that's how it was.
Yeah. Do you have an instrument around your house now? Like a piano or something?
There's a couple instruments. There's a piano, there's a keyboard, and there's this guitar type bass, which I love bass, but I don't know why I don't feel that one so much. The other instrument, the piano, was my girlfriend's piano a while back. Her name was Heides Kayada, and she passed away really early, really young. But I mean, and I got the piano. I'm like, that obviously has some different things for me. So it's like I want to, but then I can't, and then I just have the keyboard. I don't know, I've had it for a decade and I haven't really played on it, but I have.
Well, it's not like you have a lot of time.
There is no time.
Which is why we're here now.
Yeah. My girlfriend Rebecca bought me a little keyboard. It's like it's just a mini keyboard, maybe this big.
Yeah.
It's not for, obviously play or compose all that, but like in bed, before you go to bed, just pull it over and just start playing around with it, And I don't know why, as much as I love music, here's one reason. As much as I don't touch it, but what ends up happening when I do end up playing, I totally do not like what is coming out. I mean, I know what I like and I want to emulate that. And what comes out is like, is some elementary stuff on this side. I'm like, I don't want to play that. But the vibrations that come out of the keys keep sounding like that. So man, that's one of the reasons I don't go either.
We've probably never read Effortless Mastery, right?
Yes, I have. Kenny Werner. I read it.
You have? Well, that should have taken care of that, because you know how he says, I mean, my favorite moment in the book is he says, the piano player goes over and he plays the note and he goes, oh. And instead of going,
I should have done some more hmms. The only thing, that was so long ago I read that book. The only thing I really remember in detail is about how you drop your fingers on the keys and the weight, or that relationship between here and then touching the keys, and the pressure that I forgot how he worded it.
Yeah.
It all, it was a mastery in like letting your fingers drop to the keys and becoming one with them, and I still keep that.
Yeah. Well, I think as players, I think it's really interesting. I'm 67 and I'm just discovering some perspectives, and I've heard from, like, I interviewed David Amram. He's like 90 or something. And he said the same thing. David Amram, he was the French horn player for the old bebop people.
Ooh, yeah, the 4 French horns. Like there was 4 albums together on Bethlehem.
Yeah, he was one of those guys. And he also plays piano and sings and writes, and he has like 10 projects going on now. He's 90 and he's got 10 projects. But the thing is, it's you're always peeling off a layer, and discovering, oh, I've been doing that, like what you just said. I don't know how old were you when that happened, that going up to the drums, like 10 or something, or 12,
or however you're old in 5th or 6th grade.
You're like 11 or something. And and that layer is there somewhere,
It is. I know it's there. Now, I know I've done a lot of things to combat that, but why do I still remember that? I guess the shouting at me got in me, and it associated with the instruments and music. And so it's something that happens to you. It's just like, I don't know, if you fall off of a bike or you get bit by a dog, like it's a shock thing that happens to you. And I'm sure you remember if you got bit by a dog, or if you fell off your bike and scraped yourself with a bird, like those initial things, they ring with you forever. So if you get positive ones, then that's great. If you get a negative one, that's there too.
Yeah, well, nothing like shame to stick. Oh. I'm just saying. Well, it'll happen or it won't, and but actually, Kenny Werner, that Berkeley has actually had an effortless mastery department for 5 years.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah, and they're teaching people to go out and help people,
If I ever get my hands on an acoustic bass, basically, I'm done. I'm in the bedroom for 8 hours, not working, not talking to people. I'm like, I would be there. I
Yeah,
love vibration of the bass, so I know that's what I would play, and not the electric one, the
yeah,
acoustic one.
yeah.
And that's all I'd be doing. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted
Did you hear that, Bill Marcus? Yeah, I saw that Bill Marcus was
to
on.
Bill.
Maybe you have an extra bass you could lay on, Leroy.
Oh my God, don't destroy my life. Hold on to it. Just let me touch it when we're in person, but don't give it, because if you give it to me, there's going to be a whole lot of things that will not get done.
So, when you were growing up here in LA, what was going on? I mean, I'm sure Billy Higgins was happening, but obviously you were drawn to jazz. I'm sure, and there was probably other styles as well, but jazz obviously spoke to you deeply. Well, what were you experiencing, and why did you kind of choose the path you chose?
Well, I grew up listening to 1580 K-Day. That is an AM station here,
Wow.
all hip hop and soul and funk. So that's where I lived
Yeah.
day and night.
Yeah.
But and all through elementary school, junior high school, and not it wasn't around so much in high school, but that's my basis.
Yeah.
And I realized that, on this one particular day, which happened to be like every other day, I hear the same one song in the morning, a few times in the afternoon, a few times in the evening. And I'm like, I'm so sick of hearing, they're pushing it on me. Now, the thing about hip hop, it is extremely intoxicating. I mean, you can be an alcoholic with it, because those rhythms and those mantras get into your body, and they're meshed with words.
Yeah.
So if there's a song you like, great, because you're repeating it all the time. If there's a song you don't like, it's too bad, because you're repeating it all the time. I realized how much control that music has on you. And I would hear the latest song, and these rhythms are so strong. This always going in your head, and then in the next few seconds, those words start coming out of your mouth. And I went, no, 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 no. I don't want to stay this, because I didn't listen to the clean version. I'm in the club, the funky version. And I said, okay, I am not going to sing this song. And I'll say that to myself. I'm testing myself. 5 seconds later, there it is, and here it comes. No. And I just realized, man, that's taking control of my life. I don't want that. And so I started searching the dial for some different music, and I came across FM 105, the jazz station here in town. I don't know what we called it.
K Jazz, or was it just something else?
It was definitely something else. It was
Yeah.
Chuck was on it. Chuck Niles was on it.
Yeah.
It was FKKGO was all
Oh
this.
yeah, KKGO.
They
Right.
didn't call it anything else but that. And at first, for some reason, I wasn't ready for it. So but I was in high school, and directly across the street from high school was Aaron's Records. And at Aaron's Records, they would take all of these brand new albums. I guess the record companies would have theirs, and whatever extra they give them to Aaron, they put a little cut in them, and then they sell some new album for 99 cents. So I'd go in there, and I'm like, oh, David Sanborn, cool, flip it over. Oh, who are these guys? So they have sections too. All right, so I started accumulating all of this music. And funny thing is, I didn't have a record player, but I would get all of these records. And a guy I went to college with, a friend of mine, he had a record player. I go over study at his house, and I would make cassette tapes out of the records, and then I would just listen to the music on my own. Let him keep the records at his place, because he's got the record player. And so this is kind of how I started learning some of that music, you know, whether it was David Sanborn or Jeff Lorber. And that's kind of where I started out when I'm switching from hip hop to jazz.
Uh-huh.
And so I go through all of this, and I start accumulating all the music. I start going out and seeing groups like Fat Burger and Shack Attack and whatever else was on the radio. FM, 102, Cute 102 was a radio station that I love the music. And so it wasn't until actually, you know, I heard a young Roy Hargrove and Terrence Blanchard. Wait a minute. I'm like, now these guys, they look like me, but they're young like me, but they're playing this classic music. And then that was the music I was trying to get to. So I put all this other stuff aside, and I started buying all the Roy and Terrence albums. And then I started going and, you know, getting the Freddie Hubbards and the Herbies and the Miles. So it's like they kind of opened the door for me. And when I listened to them talk about some of their heroes, I'm like, Max who? Max Roach? Oh, well, let me check this out. Or Art Blakey? And I just like totally dove that direction. And of course, I liked Christian and Joshua, Christian McBride, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. Joshua.
He's name dropping Christian.
I had to do this. So these guys, they're my contemporaries. So I'm like, I want all of that music.
Yeah.
And I was loving it. And, but those guys all opened the door to everybody else that came before them. And so here goes the story here. I put a tape together, John Rangel.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yep.
I followed John Rangel around like a little puppy dog. You know, it's like he's the one who him and Phil View and Trevor Ware and all those people around the world stage, and Billy Higgins was there. They took me to I went to Fifth Street Dicks. I became a part of that community through those guys. And yeah, I'd be there late night watching it. Like I just stare and I'm like, I got to be a part of this music some way. I don't play an instrument. I have to be a part of this. You know, Marla's Memory Lane. I was always going there and learning. And it was a great environment because after, everyone will be on the streets having conversations about jazz till way early in the morning and all that. And it was great for me to take it in like that. And you know, and then I went off to college. I really didn't go hear much music at all, but I started listening to more jazz. And, you know, wrapping my arms around it. And then I told John, I said, John, you know, I heard this guy on KJZ. Sounds terrible. They let this guy on the radio. They cannot deny me. And I'll tell you the name of the initials of the person is SK. I'm not going to say any names, Shanghai Kemper, but heard this on the radio and I'm like, this is whack. I'm like, I can do much better than this. I think I have a pretty good voice and I love the music. So that's actually what inspired me to put a tape together, and John helped me. You know, I told him all of the songs I want and he helped me produce an call it a tape.
Yeah, like a demo tape.
Demo tape. Took it to KJZ. They liked it. There's no room for me there, but they liked it. And I'm like, man, I really want to be on the radio. So I said, well, my favorite station, what can I do? So you can volunteer. So I started volunteering my time there, going in once a week and, you know, calling record companies and getting the new records in the library and stuff like that. But really, after about 2 months, I'm like, I can't do this, you know, and I would, here's a little office I worked in. Now, right around the corner, this is the studio. This is where Chuck Niles and Sam Fields and all them right around. I'm telling you, less than 7 steps away. And the door's always closed. And I didn't want to go up to the window and peek in the window and look at them like that. So I never even looked in the studio. I just like, right there, man.
Really bugged the crap out of you.
Yeah, it did. And
yeah.
so, one particular night, and really this is so funny because I came in, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I got to be done. So I was going to tell my lead, you know what? Thank you, man, but I can't do this anymore. I got to get back to work and start making some money. I can't just give you 5, 6 hours of my time. I can't do it anymore. He came into work that day, and before I could even say anything, he said, hey, you know, I have Sam Fields is going to take a day off. It's got a 5-hour shift. I'm going to do the first 3 hours. You want to do the last 2? I'm like, yes. That was it. That was it. I remember this night. I was so ready. I was so ready. It wasn't even funny. I'm like, not. And so it came down to like, okay, well, you know, 1 minute left. You know, I'm going to leave out of the studio. You ready? I'm like, I got it, man. I got it. So they're leaving the studio. And at I'm watching 1 minute. And I'm like, man, I think I'm starting out with a Terrence Blanchard song or something I dig. And it got down to 30 seconds. I said, 20, 15, 10. Like, oh my God, like, I don't know what happened. You know? Boom, it's time for me to open the mic. I'm like, hello, hi. My name is Leroy Downs. This is KJZ 88.1. My name is Leroy. I just said my name twice. I ogled the whole first thing, but this is the first time my voice was ever on the air. But as I realized something is that afterwards, I mean, I played a tune I like. And so after I came out of the first set, no problem. So I realized how much the music helps you get into helps you, you know, become seamless and synonymous with the music. And like, before that, there was no music. It wasn't my music, it was someone else's. So it wasn't related to me.
Yeah.
But then right after I played that first 2 or 3 tunes, I never had a problem because it's the music that does it to you, you know. And I got to say that early on, you know, I did chase down James Janice. I'm like, man, I want to do this. He's like, yeah. And he let me come in the studio one night before all this happened for about half an hour. And I watched him do his thing. He said, you think you want to do this? I'm like, yeah. And he told me to go to a place called American Radio Network, which was up in Hollywood. You can go, you can pay $12. You can put together this 15-minute show. They'll give you a guy that works with you twice that shows you how to use everything. So you come in every week, you do your show, you keep a tape, you turn the tape in, and they will play it on one of their radio stations. They have probably like 6 or 7 radio stations. It might go from here to the corner, but at least you were broadcast on a station somehow. And I did that for a while until I went to New York. And when I went to New York, someone took me by a station called Hot 97. It was a hip hop station, but the real hip hop station in New York. And I'm walking around, I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, I'm checking out everything that they're doing. I'm like, I am wasting my time doing this thing in LA. So when I got back, I didn't do the American Radio Network. I'm like, it's time. I went to John, we put a tape together, and I don't know if that's the question you asked, but that's.
I don't know either. But that's okay. No, that's, yeah, it's, well, it's kind of the question I asked. I just, asked kind of how you basically came up and realized things and, what the path was, where it led. So, yeah, I guess you answered it. I'm also laughing because Dan posted a 1-minute clip from Just Jazz with me in it.
Oh.
Okay, so that's my Dan the man, my friend. Okay, so I'll just play it. It's a great segue, isn't it? Not really, but anyway, it's a little segue anyway. Here we go, and it's 1 minute, so. That was a good clip. Thanks, Dan. That was a good clip. Yeah. Whoops. Let me stop that. Yeah, that was. Actually, that's cool to show because that is Mr. Music Head Gallery, and so the audience is obviously looking, and so there's what does the room hold?
I say that it holds 85 comfortably and 120 a little tight.
Yeah. And then you can see what how it's not a huge space, but it's big enough to fit that group in. And that was Gary Fukushima on piano. I cannot remember the cello player's name. He was really cool. And if I do that group again, I'm going to use him again. Ted Falcon on violin, and Tom Rizzo on guitar, Bob Shepard. And I just saw Alex last night. I was hanging out with him actually at this little live gig, one of the last ones probably for a while. And Brad Dutz is behind here. You can't see him. And this is John Leftwich, who was my cohort in crime that night. Yeah. So, yeah, there's, I know you are a spiritual person with a lot of philosophical outlooks, and let's just somehow talk about musicians' perspectives when they're playing or when they're putting stuff together. Like I know you were, when we opened up, you were talking to Ben Shepherd, and he's a young man who's really brilliant, and he has a really strong perspective of the music. He knows what he can do. He's a great player, and he gets in deep, and creates something deep, right? I mean, you've interviewed, well, you said over 300 people, right? I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said not just from the Just Jazz series, but from what I did before, plus that,
Right. Yeah. Your sound drops out a little bit. I'm just curious. Have you? I know you're the big sound guy, but on Zoom, have you gone and fixed your sound in the appropriate ways?
I probably have not. Generally, when I'm usually I have my mixer and my board and my other microphone, so I don't really have too many.
May I take a moment and just walk through what we...
Let's do it.
Okay, so at the bottom of the Zoom screen where there's the mic on the left, it says mute, and there's that little sign next to it. If you go in there, do you see that? You're there?
Audio settings, yes.
I didn't hear you.
Yes, audio settings. I'm on.
Audio settings, yes, at the bottom. And then go into advanced. Wait a minute, is that it? Yeah, and I disable echo cancellation should not be checked off.
Not.
Okay. High fidelity music mode on.
It says auto and aggressive.
Oh, auto. Echo cancellation should be on auto. No, it is. Yeah, there's something. They've changed the settings because it used to look quite different than this. What I'm hearing is your voice actually is going out. So I'm not sure. Maybe it shouldn't be on auto. Maybe it should. No, it shouldn't be on aggressive, I don't think. Well, let's continue on. We'll see if. It's just the Zoom thing. So Yeah. So I'm not really positive of what I want to ask exactly, but in these interviews that I've had, it's really interesting to get into musicians' heads, and kind of understand what they're looking at and why they're looking at it, but what they're looking at and how they go about the action to walk down the path. You know, do you have anything interesting to say about that?
Well, yeah. When I interview all these musicians, I become them. I become them before I meet them. So I look at the world through their eyes. I already know a bit about them, and then of course I'll research the other part that about them, and then I don't I look at them not through the regular questions that you might ask, but how they might hear something or look at something, or I listen to their music and figure out, okay, they approach it this way or they did that. So when I ask my questions, I'm really going behind them, getting into their heads,
Right.
asking them a question from their mind that they can naturally answer.
Yeah.
Kind of why our interviews are more they're just conversations, because I've already spent some time being you,
Yeah.
different perspective, and then that's kind of how I approach it. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is, when you are them,
Mm, mhm,
what do you see?
mm. Well, I take some of the visions that I see from being in their head and some of the visions that I see from my perspective. And sometimes when I look from their perspective as an audience member, whatever, you can't see this. So I think, okay, the audience doesn't know how this works. Or when I become, them, it's like they probably have no clue that I might be thinking about this, or they did something that made me feel a different way. So that'll be a question that I ask them, and I just see how they relate to the music that they've composed and written, how they're relating to the musicians in a live performance, even through some of the things that they've written that I play on the radio. I'm like, I'll take the feelings that I get from all of those things to formulate how I want to relate.
Yeah. Who's one of the more interesting people you've interviewed to you?
Hmm. One of the more interesting. Um,
I'm
one,
sure there was more than one, but I
yeah,
wonder you could.
there
I
is.
mean, you're not limited to one.
Uh, you know, Vijay Iyer is one of my favorite guys, and he's a pretty brilliant cat. And so I know there's so many perspectives he has that I can't touch on. So I'm interested in listening to what he says with Dada Leo Smith. You and I were both at that concert together, and his perspective on music and history, and how he writes his compositions, and the way he looks at his musicians to perform those compositions. I mean, there's some serious intricate detail that goes into the way these guys think, and the way that they want their music uh, presented. You know, um, there's these people with this natural groove. Joseph Lineberg was it's like you get a chance to know these guys, where they come from, where their sound comes from, and in some instances you can kind of see how the roadmap is put together, and then as an outsider, how I look at it and how I receive it. And sometimes I think I'm right all the time, sometimes like completely wrong. I'm like, oh wow, all right, I jaded myself to see this only one way, and that vision that you gave me through the music only let me look at it this way, but it was totally this other thing. And that teaches us lessons too. I'm like, oh, don't be locked into your thing, man. Open up so that you can see more and feel more and get these experiences. And from the young guys, to, Walter Smith. I know Walter Smith. I know the guys that he plays with. I know his humor. There's a lot of these different things that you know about these guys, and so I want to plateau, let them express themselves, and hear about them. Joshua White, super brilliant cat, man. And he doesn't really talk very much. I mean, this is a guy that on the break in between sets, he'll go back and continue reading his book, and he brings about 8 of them to him to each gig. I mean, this dude is incredible. So I'm like, there's a lot of knowledge that he's acquiring from all of these different sources and bringing it into the sound. So it just amazes me.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, that concert that you and I both attended, the Wadado and VJ. Wow, that was an incredible concert.
Yeah, and even during all of these concerts, I don't write as much as I used to because it takes a lot to write. I mean, it takes a lot to get that out there. First, I can't be bothered by anybody. I really have to concentrate and focus on the music. And I only write while the music is playing because that's when I'm getting all my details. And then I have to take that and then bring it back home and shape it up. And then, put it on my site with pictures and all those things. And, that's boom, it's done. It's like, for me, it's like a gift to the artist when I do that.
Yeah.
But I don't have that kind of time. So it's easier for me to just, interview someone and do it like that. To go to a Walt Disney Concert Hall and sit there and write something, it's a lot of work. And I did that for many, many years.
Oh.
A gift to the public who couldn't go there, and as a gift to the artist. It was a way of that actually all happened. The Jazz Cat was born out of being fired from KJazz. I don't know if many people know that, but yeah, before I was brought back to KJazz, I was kind of let go from KJazz. And now it's like, well, how do I express my art to the world? How am I going to get it out there? I'm not on the radio, so I can't create and give it to them that way anymore. I'm like, what do I do? And so I went to a Charles Lloyd concert at Catalina's. And, saw a whole bunch of people there. I know, hey, what's up? And so some lady that I don't know, who came up to me and she's like, well, who are you? And I'm like, how am I going to tell this lady that I'm not a musician? I don't work on the radio anymore, so I can't say that I work on the radio. I'm like, I was trying to figure out, but I said, well, a lot of my friends, I used to play a lot of their music on the radio, I'm no longer working on the radio. And so I said, I'm going to write about this tonight. Oh, really? Here's my email. I want to read it. I'm like, oh, damn. I'm responsible now for sure that I give this lady something. And so that was actually a very good motivator for me. And I realized that was at that time. I'm like, oh, I can go see something, write about it. I'm like, oh, okay. So the one thing that's fantastic, I realized that while the music is playing, my article is being written. They are writing it. And so I just have to keep up with everything. I mean, if you sat next to me in a concert, you probably hate me because here I am doing all of this, as I'm writing. And I had to go home and lines are written on top of each other and I got to figure out what I wrote. But yeah, I mean, I realized that, man, when that music is playing, my mind is gone and I can write all of this stuff beautifully. I can't go home like, okay, let's see what I'm going to sit down and write here. No, it doesn't work.
No.
So
yeah, I actually did a bunch of writing too. For a while, I was writing for the LA jazz scene and something else. And I would go to the Blue Whale a lot, and you'd see me usually with my iPad. But I I liked it, but I also didn't. I was kind of fighting myself because I really like to just be there. It's like taking too many pictures or, taking videos or Facebook lives. It's kind of like you're kind of missing a little bit, or for me it was, It sounds a little different for you, but yeah. And also I don't know how, I can't remember. I'm sure I read your reviews, but I was kind of very, I don't want to say complimentary, but I would always bring out what was good,
Mhm. Well,
And I don't know if people expected me to be a critic.
no, you know what? I'm not a critic.
Yeah.
And if I go to a concert and I'm about to write about it, it's very easy. But if I can't write about it, I don't like the music that much. And I'm not going to force myself to write something that I
Yeah.
don't like. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this one doesn't get written about. I just put it down and listen. I
Yeah.
can't, I can't fake it. I can't be complimentary like, oh, that no, like it has to be real. And the music would have given me that. And
Yeah.
if it does not give me that, I'm not enjoying this concert that much. I mean, when it is given it to me, I'm hearing it, I'm looking, and then I'm getting all this information. I'm just trying to keep up with what's happening in my head.
Yeah.
And so, yes. And then the second set, I can kind of relax a little bit, check more out, and just like, oh, write only a couple of words because I got the gist already from what I got
Yeah.
in the first set.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a critic. I'm not going to go and tell you that somebody's horn sounded bad, even though it did, and da da da. Like, that's nothing I want to share with the world. The musician doesn't want to share that with the world. I'm like, if it's not good or it's not happening that night, I'm just not going to write about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
My my idea, and you wrote for someone. I wrote for me. I mean, I created the jazz catalog, so I don't have to turn this in. I don't have to be, I don't have an editor saying, I don't like this line right here. No, no,
Yeah.
no. That's exactly how I wanted to express it. And even though a sentence goes like this, and I wrote this here, and this there, that's how I wanted my person to read it to get a different sense of it. So I wrote artistically as well. So
Yeah.
you after you read something, you might have to think. I'm like, oh, okay, because that's how I got it, and that's how I wanted to put it out there. I didn't
Yeah.
make it simple. People all
Yeah.
the time. I'm like, this is it, and, and you can get my imagery, you can get it,
Yeah.
and sometimes only a certain amount of people are going to be able to get it because it's written for those who understand. And
Yeah.
if you want to understand, then spend some time figuring out what I said there. But I did it on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure I read your work. Dan DeVilla would love to find out, and Roland too, how the team for the Just Jazz series of Sam, Frederick, and Leroy got together.
Ah, okay. So here's the deal. In Monterey, I host the Monterey Jazz Festival every year, except for this year. First time in 20 years I haven't hosted Monterey.
Um,
But in Monterey, I'm sitting out in the beautiful sunshine in downtown Monterey, having a meal with my girl, and up walks Fred Smith. And I met Fred first on the Playboy Jazz Cruise because I hosted the only one they had licensed called the Playboy Jazz Cruise. And so, and I remember him saying he worked for CBS, da da da. And I had these DVDs actually, one of Diane,
uh-huh.
and it's one that I created, a show that I created called Hanging with the Jazz Cats, because I really wanted to bring, as I still do, jazz to television. So I had a few copies of these that I made, and I gave one to Fred, and I would give one to these television people who, maybe we can talk about it and see how I can get it done. And so that's how I met Fred. I met him just once. I didn't know who he was. Didn't hear from him for like 5 years, right? Then in Monterey, he walks up one time and he says, I'm not trying to bother you, but Leroy Downs. I'm like, hey, man. And I'm thinking like, all right, everybody in Monterey sees me on the stage. I'm, hey, what's happening, man? He's like, yeah, I really want to talk to you about doing some jazz business together, da 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 da, bringing jazz to TV. I'm like, man, you don't know how long I've been trying to do this. I said, oh, I said, well, let me tell you. I said, first of all, you don't have to say a word because I already listen to you every night on the radio. I watched the video that you've given me. I've gone to concerts that you produced. He's like, I already know everything about you. I'm like, I'm not used to that because I'm used to having to explain all of these things to people so they can understand about jazz.
Right.
But yeah, we got back to LA. We hooked up, started doing some business. I'm like, look, man, I said, everybody's a phone call away. If you're going to bring the television side into the things that I'm doing, I'm like, I'm ready to do it. I've been ready. I've been ready for years to do it. And so we planned a few things. And yeah, we actually did some stuff. We filmed some stuff at the Blue Whale. We called it Live from the Blue Whale, even though June didn't like that name very much because it caused a lot of confusion for him in his business. But I wanted to call that because I wanted to do some honor to June, man, all the work that you're doing. Like, anyway, so we ended up changing it and we made a television show out of it. And, at Monterey, the next year, I always filmed interviews. We made a television show out of it. We made all these little television shows, And Fred has kind of been, he's a person that works for CBS on the Late Late Show with James Corden. He's worked in television for 40 years, and he wanted to bring his knowledge and experience of television to the music that he loves, jazz. And he said, you're pretty much the only guy that I know that can do it. I'm like, I can't do it, except I don't have your side. If you've got that, I got everything else. Let's do it. And so we came together and came back and started working on a bunch of things. Sam, I went to Sam's gallery, not the one that you've been to. He had a gallery across the street many years ago. And Vince Wilburn, Miles's nephew, we call him Neff, he did, they were putting out this book by Miles, this art book of a lot of his paintings and things of that nature that he did. And so I went there. The gallery was gorgeous to be in. I'm like, man, I feel so good in here. And they had a great night, selling books. I think it was just like a Hollywood night.
Yeah.
Books they came out to see Vince and bought books. I bought a book and all that other kind of stuff. And I met Sam there. I'm like, dude, your gallery is just extraordinary. I love this. Oh yeah, thanks. He was a cool guy. And so it wasn't until Vince performed at the Soraya in Northridge, he brought the Miles Electric Band. And so that one had, Robert Irving Jr. and John Beasley and Christian Scott Atunde-Ajua and a whole bunch of Vince, of course, on drums, a whole bunch of folks we know. It wasn't Badal Roy, another tabla player. So I'm like, love this. So went there, checked that out. And afterwards, we're all out in the lobby and I see Sam. I'm like, I know you. This is many, 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 many years later.
Oh.
I know you. I recognize you. Yeah, I'm Sam. I have a gallery. I'm like, yeah, you did the thing with Vince. It's like, oh, yeah. I said, well, I'm not there anymore. I'm across the street, da 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 da. Oh, and I told him what I did. He's like, hey, and I don't know if he was joking or not. But he said, hey, well, hey, my place could probably fit about 120. Fred and I had already been looking around and talking about doing not a whole series like we did. I was just for the summer going to do like 3 or 4 concerts or something. But, we talked to Sam and I'm like, man, we're already just like, let's come check your place out. So Tuesday afternoon, right around 6:00, Sam's door. Sam was gone. We already set this meeting up. Sam left. And I call him like, Sam, like, see, it's like, oh, you were serious? I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, oh man, I left 5 minutes ago. Hold on. He came back. He always thinks that, he's from Detroit. He thinks like, everybody in LA.
Right.
They never, I'm like, dude, we're here. And we went in, we looked around, we're like, man, this would be a gorgeous spot to do it. And so we we decided to do it. And the thing about it is we had a lot of time to promote the first one. I know all the musicians, so I'm like, we're gonna kill this, right? So I call Walter Smith, hey man, I want you to come. Da, 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 da. And
All right. I think I was there.
I got a little bit of money in my account. And so I'm like, oh, I know what these music, we'll pay them good money too. So I'm like, all right, you bring your people, all right, you 1,200, 1,500, like, we're going to make this money, right? And so I stupidly told all these musicians what I wanted to pay them. It's a number that I made up to pay them because that's what I thought they were worth. So, and I know you're a lot more. This is what I think you're worth, and I think I can pay. So, I told all these musicians that, hey, we'll pay you this, and started lining them up. And what happened was, yeah, I did the first three, but then I asked Gerald Clayton, and Gerald Clayton was like, oh, I'm not available till August. I'm like,
Oh,
okay. And so now that I booked that, I'm well, damn, I got to fill up because like I put him way out here all of these weeks. So it's like, okay, every week I just started filling it up, checking out when people were coming to town, where they're coming from, trying to grab them. And that's how we did. And we had a run of really some, I mean, our 2-year run of it's incredible lineup of musicians. Now in the beginning, I'm like, damn, I told the dude, 1,200, we only made 400 freaking bucks at the door. I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? And this kept happening. The number that I would give everyone, we're coming more than halfway short. And I'm like, and I'd ask them if you can work with me. Some of them did. Most of them did. Many of them didn't. And so I had to go down to Wells Fargo, pull that money out of my account, and give them the balance of their money. So it was hardcore at first, Here we switched to a percentage of the door, which the musicians didn't like as much because they want to be guaranteed that money. I'm like, great, I understand that, but where's that money going to come from? Because I'm not paying it out of my pocket anymore. If you make it and you bring your people in, great, take most of it. We'll take a small portion of it. And the portion that we got went to the sound guy, and it went to Ryan and Lee and those guys mixing and doing all the music. It didn't go to us. We've never made any money.
yeah.
And so that's kind of how this whole thing has been. And all of us realize that, Sam, Fred, and myself, but we also realize the value of this good music and creating something, which we've done. And so we've continued to do it. Now, during COVID time, yeah, everyone's talking about streaming, but now you're talking about, paying an audio guy, paying some video people to record it, paying an editor, and then editing it, streaming it, putting it online, along with everything else in the world. So it's like taking a pebble and throwing it to the ocean and hoping you get a percentage of what you're. It's like people are going to watch the Village Vanguard, the Blue Note, and Tokyo. You got plenty of stuff to watch online. So do we invest our money and do that? We're trying to figure out some ways to creating, content, because you can easily have some musicians there in the house and no one else is there. And so it'd be great.
You did two Just Jazz what was it? What was the title of it for race against jazz musicians against racism?
Well,
Of which I was involved too, but that was done at the World Stage, Billy Higgins World Stage.
right. Those concerts were not bad to do because we did 3 of them. Asked the musicians to volunteer their time just like we did.
Yeah.
And the World Stage has streaming capabilities. We don't have those. I mean, we'd have to spend a lot of money to be able to stream concerts.
Yeah.
When you stream a concert on a Friday night and you're asking for $10, like, well, are the people going to pay it? Now, granted, you got a large pool. You got the whole world as an audience now, which takes marketing, and folks have to actually see and know that that's there. There's a lot of money that goes into, your marketing and your PR so that people will come, so that out of the larger pie, this percentage of people will come there and pay to watch that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that I want to watch that are streaming, a lot of them. But I'm a busy guy. I'm not sitting on the couch. If it's going to stream at 6 o'clock, I'm not home yet, or I don't have all of my things done, and I have a ton of stuff to do outside of my full-time job. So it's like, am I going to be able to sit down? I don't come home after work, sit down, eat my dinner, and just sit and watch the TV. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'd probably catch them.
Yeah.
But even stuff I'm paying for, I can't even sit down to watch. Now, if you have it on demand for me, cool. Whenever I get a minute, I paid for it, it's still there. I can watch it. That's great. But a lot of these streaming things is once you stream them, just like ours, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So that was important to. It was important to get people together to stand up for that, and it's important for people to hear our message about, jazz musicians uniting against racism. Because basically, with jazz musicians, we do not care at all what color, culture, sex, or we want good music, and that's why we all come together to produce this great product. So, world, learn from us, come together, and produce something great. And so that's kind of, it was Dwight is the one who thought about it. I'm like, yes, let's do it and make it happen. And so we did it as a leading up to voting, the election day. It's like, we're going to have these, we're going to encourage people to vote. At the same time, these musicians and people are going to talk about how this racism thing has affected their lives. And, that's how we did. That's what we did it. Everybody was happy to do it. They're happy to get out of their pandemic place and coming out. There's nobody in the room. I'm walked through a couple of times, but it turned out to be a great series of concerts. And, we're still thinking about doing a post-election celebration. We haven't quite put that together yet, but there might be another one to say, hey,
Cool. Hey, let's listen to a little music. I'd like to, maybe you could pick out, it could be from the series or just could be somebody that you think is kind of adventurous. I'd like to go for a little adventure.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you put the Just Jazz page up there, and
okay.
But the thing about it is, it's like the music that I did before the show. It's really me just playing some music until I actually get to the artist interviews. So I would say, let's see, that says episodes. All right, yeah. There's a lot of stuff. So I guess scroll down. Kind of go, let's take you back a little ways so that we can really, well, these are all the things I've been doing lately with the Just Jazz Cafes. We kind of switched over to that, for the time being, so we can play music again. But if you
there's so many people I love here. Gosh, there's the Benny Maupins and the Don Was and the
those
John Beasley and
I don't know if you've seen any of those Just Jazz Cafes, but a lot of those have been really good. The Don Was, when I had
these are talking, right?
These down here are there. Part of them is an interview, but part of them is some music that I played before our interview. So like I would play music until I can get the artist to come over, and then we'd have an interview together. So you're not hearing the artist in particular, their music.
Right, I see.
Set, before. So it's all great music, but if you click on one of them, you're not going to hear the music of that artist until we get to them to interview them.
Okay, Atmaro, the genius man, Gene Coy. Yep. Well, okay, so being Benny, the Benny man, being that we want to hear some music, I love this guy. Kamau. Woo! He's cool.
You can hear some music. All of them do have music, but when you click on it, you're not going to hear the music of that artist until I get to interview them. So, but you'll hear some music.
Well, I can go look for their music too. I mean, this could be just as a reminder for you, you know, and then I could go listen. Or now do you have what I was looking for earlier was like an archive of your radio playing?
We can do that. I do have an archive of that. Each one of these has the Just Jazz archive on it. But if you, I don't know if I gave you my app before, and I don't know how easy it is to get, but I have all my archives there. Tell me specifically what you're looking for, and I'll tell you how to get to it.
I am looking for something that reflects your taste in music.
Oh,
some music that reflects your.
Click on it now, and then hit the player, and you'll hear that.
So, and because you'll play the music before.
Yeah.
Well, I know who that is.
So do I.
Dwight Tribble right here on Sounds and Colors Radio. Yes, indeed, it is that time once again on Wednesday where we come at you Live with some beautiful jazz music and some live jazz music, this time from one of our legends in the business. If you'd like, get on down here. The address is 7420 Sunset Boulevard. The place that you want to be is called Just Jazz. Mr. Benny Maupin in the house.
In the house.
I gotta stay on top of things.
Funny on this one, I left the mic open. So no, that's cool. Play it. I mean,
You
actually hear what you're supposed to be hearing. But
I don't know if it's really soft. It sounds soft, and I can't turn it up. There's no volume directly on it, I think.
You know what? Let's click another one.
Okay.
Click that. Well, you know what? No, you won't be able. Whenever you see me interview, we stopped doing the live radio like in 2019 and 2020 because we started doing these interviews beforehand, and I stopped bringing my radio. So anything in 2018 here, let's go back to the other page. We'll pick one.
All right. Let's see.
Nope.
That's another one. Let's see.
All right, yeah, there you go.
Gee, I can't turn this up because once I share the sound, it's very soft. Interesting.
I think initially in the beginning, I was having a lot of volume issues. I mean, all right, so let's go pick another one. I'll give you one. Don't worry, we're going to hit a winner.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be a good one. See how it sounds. A little louder.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Sounds and Colors Radio. It's Leroy Downs broadcasting right here from Mr. Music Head Gallery. That's right. It's 7420 Sunset Boulevard. I think you know the address by now. But we'd love for you to come on out tonight. We've got a fantastic trio. It's Stefan Crump and the Rosetta Trio. Right here in Los Angeles, the cats are from New York City, but they're here, and we're going to have a great evening of music. Come on out to Mr. Music Head Gallery, 7420. Experience the vibration, the love, the sound. We got Chef Gooseby right here on the patio getting ready for you, man. The weather's nice and it's perky, man. It's not too cold. It's pretty nice out here. They're talking about rain, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's just going to rain down musical notes on us tonight. My name's Leroy Downs, and of course, your host for Sounds and Colors Radio. This is where we want you to be, and we'll see you right here at Mr. Music Head Gallery for the one and only Stefan Crump and the Rosetta Trio.
Cool.
Trying to figure out who that was, but
Was that him or?
oh no, that wasn't that. I mean, Stefan plays bass and he's got guitar and drums. So, but I love extraordinary music, and so that's how we do.
Cool. Yeah, it's great when you hear extraordinary music. It melts universes, and you merge with a magic universe that makes you feel kind of delicious.
Now that's for you, and for me. We're creative thinkers, and so we listen to music that way. I don't know what it's like to think from the mind of a regular layperson, because they might like, what the heck is that? And shut off to getting all of those things. Open people are willing to listen And if you do listen, hey, you might not like 3 things, you might like 5. You'll figure it out. But when people block it off initially, they don't get any of those things. And I don't know how to make regular people stop blocking off sounds that they don't know and listen for a while so that they can get the jewel that we get from listening to creative music. And I mean, I don't know if I should give up on the mission or not, but I don't know how to get people are just like, no, they want to hear, they want to hear the Jackson 5 or Stevie Wonder or all these things that bring them that good nostalgia because they know those things.
Yeah.
They're the professionals of what they know.
Yeah.
All of this, and they could talk about all this. They know all the notes, they know the words, they know what's coming. So people are very comfortable with what they know.
Yeah.
They're very uncomfortable with what they don't know. Really, even in the jazz community, I'd be talking with someone and I'm like, oh, I said, well, oh yeah, that was Greg Osby. It's like, oh yeah, he's good. But yeah, man, when I was coming up, I saw, Sam River and I'm like, okay, it's cool. You saw them. So you got those vibrations on and you want to continue to talk about that. And you should, but you shouldn't dismiss what you don't know. Because now we're trying to show you some new things. Like I found that many people in these conversations that I have would just like shut my thing off, the thing that they don't know, and then start talking about the thing that they do know. And I recognize this quite a bit. And so I said, okay, so who's right? Are you right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I know what you're talking about because I didn't live that, but I went back in time to get all of that music. So I understand those vibrations that you're getting. And we can sit here and talk about that stuff that you like all day long. But it's me. So it's like, as a human being, I should share. So I'm trying to share some of these good things with you, but you don't want to take them because you want to keep talking about what you know. And a lot of times I just shut up and I just let them talk about their thing. And then at the end of the, hey, well, it was great seeing you again. I'm like, there's no conversation here. You come up to me and like, oh yeah, you the jazz guy, da 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 da. And then you start telling me your stories. That's what you wanted to do, was tell me your knowledge. I'm like, you didn't want me to share any knowledge with you. So I check people out all of the time and kind of figure, are you one that we're going to be able to have a conversation with? Or are you one that tell me your stories? So.
Brad Dutz had a series, for 2 years too, every Thursday night. And it was in Sunland. And at this real funky little room. It was created by this guy who had created art for movies and stuff, and really nice guy. And this place, this was like your old apartment, with like your mom's couch in one corner and John Smith's couch in the other corner. You know what I mean? This was funky, and it was a really small room. Maybe the size of the back, the back room of Just Jazz, where after that you would go to the outside. That room.
Yeah, that's really small.
I know. And so, and then the owner would kind of run some cool video that he, just kind of background video that was artsy. And Brad, he also great taste in music.
Brad is an extraordinary player and creative mind. His wife is a painter, or she's creative.
And a musician.
Yeah, and their son. So yeah. I'm really interested in who he booked there. Like, I never heard about the series. If he's doing it, then I know the kind of mind that he's thinking from. So I'm thinking that he had some really great performances there.
He had some far out people, man. He just like really like some top abstract, avant-garde kind of people. And one time I remember I was there and I was watching and listening, and I just got this feeling like I really wanted people to hear this. It was like, and experience it, because as I said, like it melts down the walls. And so all of a sudden you're in this magical space and you feel different. You feel good. You feel, everything's okay. Everything feels good. It's.
I think that's the problem with most people is that you took the time to let the walls melt down so that you can get that good feeling. The other people see the wall and like, I'm not climbing that, they're out.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Actually, my husband, when I met my husband, he was not a jazz person at all. He collected records and he also lit bands on the Tonight Show. He did the lighting. So to me, he was an artist and he was tied into rhythm, and he also has a huge record collection of rock and blues. So there's a lot that he knows.
Yeah.
But jazz, it was really interesting because there were a few things that came up. He was so non-experienced in the jazz world and listening to jazz in a particular way. I mean, he had a few jazz records, but that there were interesting things that came up that I had to really wait a minute, I got to really explain this part. I even bought him a drum set because he had played drums when he was a kid, and I thought this would be good. And you know what? After he got into playing the drums, he actually, I could see that he loved really, really good drummers. Like, he would come with me, and if I said, there's somebody you should listen to, and then he'd listen to this great drummer, and then he'd get kind of blown away. But there were just issues that he had that, because he just lacked the experience of that. I mean,
on the Tonight Show for sure.
Yeah.
But if he asked all of those musicians on the Tonight Show about who they listened to, I'm sure a lot of them would have told them blues players.
Yeah. But what's interesting was his record collection, which he's had since he was a kid, he has like 10,000 records, was filled with great music, right? But it was rock and blues, so some serious blues too. But so he knows the magic spot.
Sure.
Yeah. It's really, really interesting.
One thing that's pretty funny that reminds me of a story that we took Judah. Judah is Rebecca's son. We took him to the world to get a drum lesson many, many years ago. He plays drums. But we took him over there to get a drums lesson with oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. I'm looking right at his face. Anyway, he's gonna kill me. But take Judah over there and they give him the drum lesson. I'm looking and I'm like, man, Cornell Fowler.
Okay.
I want to play. Like, I never played before. Like, this is my opportunity. I mean, I know a bunch of kids are playing here, but man, maybe I can get on. And so after they were doing their thing, I'm like, well, dude, can I? He's like, yeah. So I asked permissions, like one of the first times, and Trevor Ware was another one, but one of the first times I'm like, I get to play some drums, or I get to play. Someone said yes. So I go up and I'm just kind of feeling around a little bit. I mean, I got all this knowledge of the music, right? I got to be able to come up with something,
Yeah.
And so I was doing some things. He said, here. He said, do this here. Do this, just hit this thing right here. Just keep doing that. I'm like, why the hell am I doing this shit? Like, why is he having me do this? And all of a sudden, oh shit. I'm like, I heard it. I'm like, I know this. And I'm like, and he just laughed. He like, he already knew that I knew the music. And even though I was doing this thing at first, I couldn't hear it. It like all of a sudden was there. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I know this. I'm doing this. I know it.
That's so cool.
It opened up like, it's like one of those Chinese painting or whatever painting is. You stare at it. Boom, there it is. It's like, you gotta spend some time with it.
Yeah.
Jewel in the lotus.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was reminded that there were a few times in my life when I couldn't use my eyes for a few days, and um, or I had a boyfriend, a bass player, who we literally used to lie down on the floor in the dark and just play music and listen.
Mm.
And just without the visual sense, it really brought me in.
It's loud. It's like boom, that's
Yeah.
it. You're getting everything from that, which is
Yeah.
should be a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, it's really amazing. I remember Dave Mackay. Did you know Dave Mackay at all, the pianist? He was blind from when he was like 14 or something. And he was a really interesting artist. This one time I heard him use the blender guy, the bartender, in the music.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how that could be done very easily for him because it's such a rich sound, and I don't know how he's going to make a rhythm out of that because they're not blending with the rhythm, but I'm sure he incorporated it some kind of way.
Yeah, well, it's just another color, in the whole thing. And there really does have to be some kind of perspective. I know we all have different perspectives to describe this, but I mean, we're describing the same thing, except we're seeing it through our own heads. But yeah, there's. Well, I'm going to show you a picture if I can actually show it on. I don't know if I can show it, but this kind of.
Yeah, I see that. Like, the center of a cornfield or something like that.
Yeah, with this little girl looking at the
Oh,
camera.
yeah, I see. Oh, nice.
Yeah, and see, all this corn has been used. Then there's a space, and then there's a whole field of corn that's not used,
Yeah.
and a tree in the distance. So this I keep this because it reminds me of the space that I'm in touch with. And I mean, as I said before, there's so many layers. But like the little girl looking, that's me looking at myself and saying, "Come on."
Yeah, right.
Like we've already been here in this field. Come on. There's the field behind. And there's space. There's woof. So I just like to, you know, I mean, of course, right now is an interesting period of time. I've really been trying to read a lot of different books, and I'm really into philosophy, and I could watch Eckhart Tolle videos forever. But there's so many wonderful people to tap into and listen to. But I like to remind myself of that space a lot right now. If I ever get to feeling weird, or, like things are getting a little too weird or surreal, I try and go back to something like that, which of course music leads us back into that, which is extremely fortunate. And I want to live there, and well, you definitely live there, and you definitely help us who are listening to you live there too, and that's a pretty cool position to be in, you know.
Yeah, I like, well, first of all, I love laying taking this empty canvas and there are all your paints and painting all of these covers. At the end of a 3-hour set or a 2-hour set or whatever I'm doing, you have a completed piece of art. And um, they're not a bunch of songs played together at all. I don't have a playlist. I'm like, let me play this one and let me play that one. That is not how you guys compose the music and I compose my painting. That's why my radio station is called Sounds and Colors. I mean, I compose my painting around these different feelings and moods of the music. So when I go to the station, I mean, now I used to carry like a couple packages, big bags of CDs and all that. Not anymore. It's all digital. So when I go, I have my entire library in a hard drive this size, and you plug it in, and obviously I'm going by feeling. How do I feel right now? Like I'm not really concentrating on how I feel, but I'm looking through the music. I'm just scrolling through it. I'm like, oh, and I'll play it. And I'm like, yeah, that's a nice one to start the show off with. So I really only pick that tune, and then I'm like, all right, that tune's 5 minutes. Let me pick another one real quick that'll go with that. Got it. So I got 2 songs. That's all I go into the studio with. First song is playing. I already know what this one sounds like. Then I start searching for the next. And there, at any given point, like you can switch moods. You can go in different directions. You can be very mellow. You come at them hard, and then you can caress them. I mean, and you do that with strings, with a bass, with a cello, or there's so many ways to just shape this sound. And I don't shape it on purpose. I'm not like, I'm going to create this. I don't do that. I only get my vibrations from what the song that's playing now. That is what creates the next thing. I might get an idea, and I'm all the way into A's on my hard drive. I'm like, oh, let me get Rudresh Mahaprabha. So I'll go down and I'll be scrolling through the R's and like, whoa, wait a minute. There's Jason Moran. Hold on, let me hear this. All right. I never got there. I had an idea to go there, but I never got there. And it's really hard for me to like, someone said, well, play this song. Songs have to come in. Usually everything comes in naturally. If I have a song that I have to play, I have to figure out where it goes. I can keep this thing over here all night long, and I can't force it. It doesn't go there. So I can't force it. I have to get around to, like, we can possibly do this right now, but I don't want to put that much concentration on somebody's song that I needed to play. I'm like, so I don't generally do that. I generally like let the music dictate and control everything that happens. And I can't really enjoy it while I'm doing it because I'm working. So
Yeah.
afterwards, I always listen back to my shows, and I'm concentrating on the transitions. Where did I go after that? If I have a song that's 20 minutes long, generally I'm like, just because it's 20 minutes doesn't mean you can't play it on the radio. I'm not going to play the whole 20, but people should be able to hear it. And so I'll let it roll. And then I either have a feeling, okay, that's enough for them. Or it's like, oh man, let me find a place to get in. And I've already figured out what the next tune is. And with these modern day controllers and all that, I can get in really cool. So it just, boom, it's, the other one's taken off. That one's out there now. And it's great. I love it. I love it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what and why we love Leroy Downs.
And I'm wondering, I'm on KCRW at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, not really since the pandemic. So I'm really hoping people are listening. I know some people for sure are, a few people, because they let me know, but I'm hoping that people are listening to this palette of sound and getting all that comes from it.
Yeah.
Spend time with the music, even if you're cleaning up your house or you're driving or whatever you're doing. This music is composed for you. You can't just like, oh, I'm not going to play Song from My Father, and okay, here's Kind of Blue. All right, here's Freddie Hubbard's. That's not going to happen with me. There might be times that I can get that in, but I'm not trying to play popular music that you already know. That's not where I come from. I don't curate my series like that. I don't really play standards at all on the radio unless it's something that's really extraordinary. It's like, you got that, you heard that, that's been done a million years. I'm not doing that. But what I do is give you some of these things. And if I hear a standard inside something that's really beautiful display. Well, now I got to go find it, but I'm not going to find, maybe I'll find the original works, or maybe this person's version of it will fit right in with that. So I can hear it. But in 2020, I think all the music from the 50s and 60s is gorgeous. I learned it. It made me, but it shouldn't be played 95% of the time. It should be played 20, 15, 10% of the time. And, we got people living today that are creating music that will never have a space on radio if we keep listening to the same thing all the time. So that's me. That's my philosophy. That's how I do it. That's how I've always done it. And all I can do is hope that people will understand that and come check it out.
Can you tell the listening audience how to check you out?
Oh, yes. Well, there's a number of ways. So I'm on KCRW. Since the pandemic hit, there's no more music like overnight. I was on from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. every Saturday morning. Now I'll be on next December 6th and December 13th on a Sunday night from 10 p.m. to 12 midnight. And then I'll have another 2-week session. I don't know when that'll hit. There's a number of DJs that were put off the air because of this pandemic thing, and KCRW is being very careful about the COVID thing. But now we've created to bring these people back. But now all of these people are going to work in about this much space of time. So I have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks in order to get my 2 weeks in, and then I'm out on rotation with some other people in. So you can't hear me there consistently. I do have my own radio station. It's called Sounds and Colors Radio. Basically,
and I'm gonna go there. Is that what we saw, or is that something actually different?
Well, when I do my broadcast, I do broadcast. But yeah, go to that's it, Sounds and Colors. Okay. So Sounds and Colors Radio, there it is. I mean, you got this from Just Jazz. So there's a part of it on Just Jazz. You're on soundsandcolorsradio.net. So yes, this is the player. You can click there and listen to the music. It's basically all my archives of music that are constantly playing all the time. And
so if I just as curious, if I clicked this, says the Just Jazz concert series, but is this music continually, or if I just wanted to put you on and not listen to particularly interviews, but more music?
There's a player right there. You just click it.
Right here.
All of these things that are down here are events that we're doing, that we're promoting.
Okay.
So, as you see, I got ours up there too.
But,
yeah. All you got to do is click the player, and the music will play. And then lately, I've been doing these Sunday spins from a little neighborhood market called Jackson Cafe, LA. So I'll go there on a Sunday. I'll set up all my stuff, and I'll broadcast from there. And I'll ask people to come on by if they're closest in Culver City. If not, just listen, and we just spend some live sounds. So I can go live at any moment.
Beware. He can go live at any moment.
I put it on Instagram. I had Facebook, but my Facebook was hacked. And to this day, 4 months later, I still haven't figured out a way to contact those guys to tell them, hey, that wasn't me. Put my stuff back up there.
Oh.
On the sideline with Facebook. But Instagram, yes, I'll go live on Instagram and live on Sounds and Colors.
Is your handle on Instagram the Jazz Cat?
Leroy, the Jazz Cat.
Leroy, the Jazz Cat?
Somebody snatched the Jazz Cat.
Well, Leroy, the Jazz Cat, man, I appreciate you making time for me, because I know your time is packed. And those listening, that's why we actually invited Leroy on at 4:30 in the afternoon, haphazardly. But thank you for spending 2 hours and talking about music and your point of view And yeah,
Yep,
really
thank you.
appreciate it.
It's so appreciated. You wanted to bring me. Say, well, I have the show at 12. I'm like, I can't do 12. So you made an adjustment for me. So thank you. It's great being here and talking to all your fans. And I'm usually doing the interviews.
I know.
So this is easy. I don't have to do any work.
I know. You don't have to think, man. Tomorrow I'm having Melba Joyce on. I'm really looking forward to that. And for those of you who don't know, she's the mother of Carmen Bradford, but I mean, she is a stateswoman of jazz, and she's done a lot of really amazing things for jazz, actually. And then the next day, Mike Renzi, he's a living accompanist, who accompanied people like Mel Torme and Tony Bennett, but for long lengths of time. I mean, he was the accompanist back then, and so that's going to be the rest of this week, and then Thanksgiving. I hope I'm going to hang with. I hope I'm going to hang with family. Oh man.
We're doing something. We probably have about 10 people. The babies. Rebecca's daughter and husband, and maybe
Oh, nice.
my dad is way out, in La Quinta, and my mom is in Baldwin Hills, and and then my aunt is up the street, and my uncle. So everybody's everywhere, but people are scared to, my family's scared to get together. This is the highest that the COVID thing is hit, and even though we're all playing it safe, we got to play it safe for the holidays too, which is a drag, man. I
Yeah,
love
it's a drag.
hugging my family and my people, and it's rough. So I will hug everybody with the music.
All right. Thank you. Leroy, beautiful to see you, man. Thank you for hanging.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I hope you got some good stuff out of me.
It was great. Thank you. And everybody, y'all have a good night, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow with Melba Joyce. I'm really excited.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Kiss Rebecca for me.
Do that. I'll do
Okay.